right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we want to welcome you to us on Liberia. Welcome to our broadcast. Today is Sunday, is our program, Primetime Sunday. I'm Anthony C here in Studio One at our headquarters in Atlanta with my partner Dennis Ja. And we want to say welcome to our broadcast. In today's edition of Primetime Sunday, we are having a conversation with two of our brothers who just returned from the homeland, and we want to get to know the outlook of things in the motherland. Dennis, Gagwa is in studio, Makore is here, they just from home. What a better way to welcome them than to welcome them at Focus on Liberia.
Precisely. You know, anytime we in the diaspora, we say something, they say, gentlemen, you are not on the ground. Come home and see. Yeah. So we have two of our colleagues who went to Monrovia to Liberia, and they are back. And we want to say, welcome, gentlemen, starting with Mr. Robert Gligbin Gagwa Jr. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm no stranger on this platform, and I look forward to the discussion.
And by the way, Robert is a humanitarian. He was in Liberia for probably or hopefully humanitarian purpose, but he's going to talk that. Next is an unabashed sedition, Mr. Macaulay Woolen. Mr. Woolen, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Yeah, thank you as always. It's good being back in the U.S. and we can discuss more subsequently about life back home. Thank you again.
We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is Focus on Liberia. We are glad to be here on Primetime Sunday. Generally, Primetime, we don't have politics, but sometimes we do because politics fill our lives. And so we are glad to have Mr. Robert Gligbin Gagwa Jr. and Macaulay Woolen Jr. also returning home from Liberia. They were there for couple of weeks, and they're going to tell us exactly how things. Oh yeah, So, gentlemen, again, welcome. We want to welcome all our viewers across the globe. This is Primetime Sunday on Focus on Liberia. Mr. C.
And then let's get this started with our colleagues here. We hear that talk all the time. Oh, you guys not on the ground. Now we got people from on the ground who can share with all how things are. We hear the news all the time. It's not easy. It's not easy. Anytime you call, it's not easy. We have not had the opportunity to see those things they're talking about by saying it's not easy. Robert is here to help us with that. Also, my colleague is here, and they are comfortably seated. Gentlemen, let's start on a very...
And before we even go there, Sonny, because anytime you talk to people in Liberia, they want to know, anytime you talk politics about Liberia, they want to see which side you're standing on. Yeah. Because there are some people who are opposition, some no position, and some pro-government, right? Yeah. So we want to see, before we even begin, where do you guys stand politically so that our listeners will get to know where you're coming from based on your assessment. Mr. Gagwa.
Well, it's no stranger. I'm not associated or attached to any of Liberia's political parties. I'm actively involved, but I'm not member of the CDC. I'm not member of the Liberty Party or any of the other opposition political party. I like to best describe myself as a Liberian who supports development of Liberia. And so I support the president, whoever that is, he or she, because when they succeed, Liberia succeeds.
Mr. Woolen.
Yeah, I been with the CDC, like you guys are aware, for years now. But I am also a country first person, country over party, country over individual. So I am always open to speaking to the facts as it relates to situations back home.
Thank you, Mr. Sia. There you have it. Two young Liberians, very open-minded, and they are here to share their perspectives on how things are in Monrovia. Let's start with you guys to say, when were you in Liberia, for how long, and where all the places you visit? Macaulay, did you happen to go to Sino?
No, unfortunately, I didn't make it to Sino, but I will be going Sino next month, so that's a good thing. But I was unable to go Sino this trip in December.
How long were you in in Liberia?
I was there for exactly 18 days.
Okay, great. Let's go to Mr. Gagwa. Probably you reached Obezon, didn't you?
I sure did. I was up there in Baza, and it's always a pleasure, and it's always great to be out there in my home county, and it was great. I had some GB and some Dumbo, and man, I'll tell you, even speaking about it right now, it makes me miss it.
Right. Mr. C, let's get this started.
Let's get this started. And I saw a post on Mr. Red talking about you know how things that he saw there. He was talking about a paradoxical feeling that he kind of developed after being on the ground. And so, Mr. Blair,
Yes,
let me
sir.
do a few things at you, and then you can share your paradoxical feeling with
Okay.
us. First, Saint Moses, we talk about. Uh, okay, so what was the first thing that struck you when you got in Morovia?
Oh, the first thing was actually that was my first trip on the airport, the new airport. So that was really impressive. Yeah, it was impressive. Looking at the last time I was there, was it what 2017 or so before the election or something? And at the time the airport was not dedicated. So that was the first thing that struck me in the airport.
Hmm. What's about you, Robert?
The first thing that struck me, just being back home. Obviously, it's obvious. I mean, I got there around about 8:30 p.m. and so it was pretty dark, as it's always been. Driving from Roberts International Airport into the city, it was dark, but it was just great being home. Great feeling.
All right, gentlemen, then let's talk about the general feel of things in Liberia from the perspective of Liberians. I'm sure you interacted with them during your time there. How are Liberian people feeling about their country? And we'll go line by line, economy and all that. But what was the general feeling that they expressed to you, given the way things are in the country? And let's start with you, Robert.
Well, generally, sometimes it's important to put things in perspective,
Mhm.
especially when you are who you are, and I'll say that to say that when you are privileged, when you are fortunate like we are, it's important to really put things into perspective, because if you don't do that, then you kind of lost sight of the true struggle, right? But just to summarize, I spoke to, I was there with my girlfriend and some other guests I took with me to Atlanta, from Atlanta, and some of the folks that I spoke with, why on my humanitarian duty. I'm going to point out one. There's a lady that my organization, the family, they are blind. She and her husband are blind. They have 4 kids, and we've been helping them for the going over 6 years now, sending the kids to school and helping with the family. And I visited them before Christmas. I think it was 2 days before Christmas, and I took some stuff like we always do, and I was able to speak and engage with others, with our neighbors. And some of the things that they pointed out, the very first thing they thought I was with the government. Some of our neighbors, she had to basically tell them, no, Robert is not working with the government and blah 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 blah. And they said, well, because we respected our food items. And I said, what food items are you guys talking about? They said, well, some people from the government came here during the COVID-19, got our names, and got a number of family members. and we expected a full distribution. And since then we haven't seen them. And so, given the fact that we saw you pulled up with the cards and food, rice, and some other things, we thought that you work with the government, and they expected that. And from that conversation led to other conversations. Generally, people are struggling. Obviously, you live in a country where there are no jobs. Liberians for the most part depend on remittance from the U.S. and family members and so forth and so on. COVID has hit the entire world, has impacted us, our economy, and of course, those people have been impacted greatly. And so, generally, people are struggling. Things are difficult.
All right, Robert, thank you. Let me come to you, Mr. Wulen, and you can take it from the political angle. You are a political guy, and we want to know how are Liberians feeling about the situation they face today in the country, uh, from the government side and from the opposition side, because we hear the thing, oh, the opposition responsible, oh, the government responsible. As a guy with the political eye, what is the general sense of feeling in our people right now?
Well, firstly, I'm not really a politician. Maybe sometimes, excuse my voice, I came back with cold.
Okay.
But sometimes we engage in politics because we got to be active in our society. But the truth is, let me take it this way. Like, when I got home, few things that kept me kind of up and excited is the fact that, see,
Mm-hmm.
I saw people, I saw hardship, I saw people struggling to pass the day. I saw families that can barely survive a day, but they keep going. It was sad. When I say it was a paradoxical experience because I was happy, but I was sad. That's what I actually meant. I was happy, but I was sad because the economic realities back home, it is very difficult, to be honest. But I was also happy because, see, I don't know, God has blessed me so much. I have traveled and will continue to travel. I've never seen any group of people so happy like the Liberian people. See, I had some friends that came from Canada, from other places that were visiting back home. And some of them, they were visiting for the first time after many years. But see, the joy that you see on the average Liberian man face, in spite of the many challenges back home, you will never believe it.
Wow.
So if we were to carry on a happiness index, I don't think the people in the US are as happy as the people in Liberia, on a very honest note.
Robert, did you see that same happiness and smiles on the faces of the people?
Well, that's very subjective. That I would like to say that that's very subjective because my team want to pick me up. I have a group of folks that work for my organization and work for me in Liberia. Obviously, they are always happy when they see you. Liberians are known for being resilient. So let's just
Yeah.
get that very clear.
Yes.
Liberians are some of the most resilient people on earth. I mean, come on, if you
Yeah.
looked at all of what we've gone through, we continue to push forward. But then again, if we use the word happy, I think we have to
That work
put
for
happy
my
in context.
organization, work for me in
We, we,
Liberia.
we have to put happy. We have to put happy in context. What are they excited for? What are they excited about? And if you looked at I think McCollin mentioned the economic hardship. The economy, I would say, for the very first time, the economy. And I used to basically say we have to give this government a chance, and I will continue to say that. I will continue to applaud this government in areas that are needed. But I will say this, and I will say it very clear, with no sugarcoating. The economy is in need of help, and those who are currently in control of the economy after 3 years have not done a good job. You don't need to be an expert in economics to see that things have gone from bad to worse. And I believe this is the moment that every Liberian, especially those who could help in this area of economics, I think it's important that we put our country first. It's important that those who are currently in control of this economy put their egos aside and reach out to those who could be of help. The economy is bad. Is bad. And it's not just because we don't have jobs. It's not just because we have a static job rate. It's just bad. It's bad. All around is bad. And I think the folks who are experts in economics could better explain this. But just from looking at some of the things that we're going to touch on, the banks, the money circulation, and things like that, the economy is bad, and help is urgently needed.
Thank you, Rabbi. And
So
Mr. Wright, you were saying something earlier. You said you see the suffering. You pointed out Liberian people are, resilient. No one can question that. We all been there. We know that. But what is it? Did you find those things that they are happy about and joyful about?
see,
Mhm.
again, I don't think Gedwa, if I pronounce his name right, Gedwa and
Gagwa,
I,
Gagwa,
huh?
Gagwa.
Gagwa. Okay, yeah, sorry. Gagwa. I don't think Gagwa and I really disagree much on the economic realities back home.
Mhm.
See, if I sit here tonight and try to ship up or window dress anything about the realities back home economically, that will be dishonesty at the highest level. The truth remains, like Gagwa said, the current, I believe, and let me make it very clear, you know my position. I a strong supporter of this government. But I believe that the current economic management team, the finance minister, economic advisor, and all of those included on the current economic management team have underperformed. And I think the most honorable thing to do right now is either they give way or the president force them out. That's the reality on the ground. And we can go in depth, we can have further discussions about some of the reasons beyond
Mhm.
my statement.
Mhm.
But the truth remains, like I said, it was paradoxical. I was not trying to suggest or insinuate that everything was okay when I said I saw the people happy, I saw joy. It was just to the point of how resilient, because see, the reality remains for people to be living in such a condition and you still see them. See, in the night, as far as Ganta, I was in Ganta, Bon
Right.
County. In the night, I see people still, in the day, as you go in communities and stuff like that, even outside Monserrato County, the way in which I see the people, the way in which they conduct themselves, the way they interact with you, the way you will not even believe that they are going through the kind of struggle they are going
Yeah.
through.
But,
That's the perspective
Mr.
I was
Webb,
coming from. And
Mr. Webb, one
yeah,
one reason could be that Liberians love when you come from the states. But generally, is that how they behave to one another, or is it because they saw Mr. Willer looking so? Because they say when they see you, they can even tell from your clothes that you are from America.
yes, but the truth is, Mr. Ja, I'm not talking about people that I know or people that I really interacted with. In fact, some of the locals, I had my little brother there. You know what he was telling me?
No.
It was so funny. He said, in a day the country hard, but in the night it can be easy. Yeah. And and as I drove through from community to community, almost every community, especially those communities that are privileged to have roads going there, electricity and stuff like that, I see people on the street, and I see even in the day, I see the kids, the way they
Oh,
play, and the way they interact with one another outside of those I interacted with. And
thank you.
it was kind of so touching to me. It was emotional in a sense that when I got down and I saw the realities and stuff like that, I was kind of a little bit devastated. I was like, no. But those people, they kind of they give me a strength to be able to do more as a Liberian, to be able to fight more for our country, to not give up because of what I see through them. I see I see the current economic, the current leadership, the economic management team failing our people, and they are doing a very bad job. But yet and still, those people are people that send out a signal that look, we are here, we are strong, we are resilient, we are willing to move, we are willing to work, we are willing to take our country to the next level. All they need is the opportunity to be given to them. And I think there where the president, he has 3 more years in his first term. I hope and pray that the president gets the message that, look, those guys, the 12 others, they have underperformed. Some of us, we have been very, very tolerant. We have been absorbing, trying to give a chance to see, because we understood that it took a very messy economy, but 3 years and we still where we are. Look, it is time that the president change his current economic management team, the entire team.
Right. So let's go into the details now as to exactly what do you see when we talk of the economy.
Yeah.
What is the general atmosphere when it comes to the economy, and specifically point to those things that tell us that the economy is hard. And because we're going to go step by step, we're going to talk
Yeah.
about the economy, the healthcare, and see, and give me some examples. Say things are. Let me start with Robert. The economy.
Well, the economy, again, I'm not an expert on economic matters, but I think let's first start with the banking system, right? I've said over and over. Right now, we have a situation where I believe that Liberians don't trust the banking institution in Liberia. Uh, there are, and I'm just throwing out numbers out there. There are maybe 75 or 80% of Liberians who would prefer to save or keep their monies under the beds or under the mattresses than they would in the bank. And one of the questions I keep asking folks who are experts in the area is that why is it that the Liberians don't trust the bank? Why people don't feel safe enough to take whatever earnings they have and to take it to the bank? Why are they keeping it in under their mattresses? And they continue to say it's because there are no economic policies that gave people that trust, that reliance on the banking institution. And so the way I see it is from a common sense perspective. Is of course we need more education on banking. We need more education for small businesses and those who own those small businesses, many of whom are local folks who are not necessarily formally educated. But the government has to do more to put in place economic policies that will allow people the confidence to trust the bank. That one. Two, I've gone to Liberia 3-4 times a year, many for the past 8 years since the Ellen Johnson story time. And I gotta say, this is the very first time where I didn't have to go to the ATM to use the ATM because I took the advice of folks saying that there were no money in the bank very seriously, especially given the fact that I wasn't traveling by myself. And so I took enough cash. I surprisingly had enough cash on me that I didn't have to go to the bank. I did have a couple of guests with me who ran out of cash and had to go to the ATMs. And a couple of the ATMs that we went to, and I want you to listen very carefully. Over the years, the ATMs have always been packed. Every time you go to Liberia and you go to the Mama Point Hotel, the Cape Hotel, you go to the Royal Grand Hotel and other places where ATM are frequently used, uh, those places are packed, right? If you go down in town area where they have the general banks, the lines are even more. The lines are longer over there. But I saw longer lines than I've ever seen before. And what struck me is the fact that you will have people not just trying to collect money that they already have in the bank, but people who are trying to collect a little $50, $40 for Christmas. There are people, there are families who could not even collect money their relative has sent for the holidays. They go in line for 5, 6, 7 hours, sometimes 8 hours. Now that's a whole working shift,
Yeah.
and you have 100 persons in line, for instance, and the bank will only be able to give, let's just say, 20 persons money. And I found that very troubling. A couple of the places that my friend went to, even when he was trying to collect $1,000, they couldn't give him a whole $1,000, because if you had $1,000 or $2,000 in the bank, then you had to make sure that you were taking enough so someone else behind you can take at least $100 or $200. That's troubling. The prices of goods have actually gone up. Rice and other commodities have gone up. And so generally, again, I'm not an economist, but when you looked at just from some of the things that I mentioned earlier, it's a reflection of a system that is in need of help. It's a reflection of a system that is drowning. And the sooner those in authority can put aside their egos, the better it is for our country, not necessarily for the administration per se, but for our country and for our people. And I think it's important, very important, that as we begin a new year, and some of the conversations that I have privately with those that I've met in government, as we begin a new year, it's important that we start to put aside politics and look at the interests of our country. Because if a partisan or a guy who is very close to George Weah in Simon Toy, I've always said, and on many occasions, I've called on the dismissal of Simon Toy. Even if let me just say this in 30 seconds, even if you took over a messy economy, after 2 3 years, that economy becomes your economy. That means it is your responsibility to make sure that you have economic policies in place to get us from the mess you inherited and make progress. I mean, if you look at what happened when Obama took over, we're in a recession. They had economic policies in place that got us all of this recession. This administration and this management team have not put in place or have not implemented the policies needed to get us out of the mess they inherited, and that's troubling.
Mr. Woolen.
Yes. Again, a lot of the things Gagwa stretched on are true. They are real. I was there. I saw them firsthand. To the extent that Mr. John, I've always seen people struggle. I've seen lines at the bank in Liberia and stuff like that. But the current reality is unprecedented. I've never seen that much struggle. I've never seen before in Liberia where people go to the bank. I remember I saw this guy, he was literally crying. He was crying in tears for his own money, his own money. He was in tears. And the reality remains, how can you believe that such a person will ever attempt to take their savings to the bank? And I doubt it. I have not seen or read of any economic that thrives, that does well. Any economy that does well with lack of confidence in the formal sector, the banking sector. So the truth is, it is not about party. It's not about individual. It's about the country. And the current economic reality in Liberia, after 3 years, Mr. John, it is not time that we look at our people and say, look, we try, or you try and you cannot do the job. We need a new team. But beyond the issue of the money, see,
Well, Mr. Woolen, you keep talking about a new team. Isn't that a low-hanging fruit? Is it an issue with the financial management team, or is it the issue with leadership, starting with the president?
yes, Mr. Jai, the truth is, I cannot say for sure because two things will be happening. Either the guys, they are just not competent enough to do the job, or they are not being allowed to do the job. Okay, so now if they are not competent, like most of us waiting, the president, State of the Union address and stuff like that, we waiting for a lot of changes and all those things. We're still trying to be tolerant and patient, all of those things. But two things. If the president still believes in those guys, then probably then some of us might say, okay, yeah, I think the issue is with the leadership. But for now, I believe that the current and let me say this to you. The reason why I've been it's been a while now, and so I've always been supporting the government, but it was the first time the president ever danced that zombie dance to a program they were having. I can't remember what the program was about. And for me, from the beginning of our government, first in the government, outside government, I talked to privately. Even I think she and I, we have had some private conversations. I told them there are a lot of things that I believe from the beginning that was started bad. And I knew that they were going to come and hunt us, but I thought the government, and as you talk to people, they'll be smart enough to kind of overturn things. For example, even the UL tuition free, the wired payment, the thousands of participants being included on payroll, all of those things. Privately, some of us will try talking, and we know that those things are going to have repercussions because why? All of those things, why it kind of will shrink the fiscal space for government to have public sector investment. Because with that now, you have no money, you're struggling to pay salary. What extra money are you going to have to put in programs that would really kind of turn the economy around? But we had a conversation in private with people. And we still made our own inside recommendation that at least our little one or two ideas. Even going on this trip, we went with some innovative ideas. We have, like my brother said, we are privileged to be where we are. And this position, sometimes they give us they give us a different perspective of things. Mr. Jai has been about a year, we had the same crisis with money not being in the bank and all of those things. And those are things that could have been addressed even before this coming Christmas again. And the finance minister and the central bank, they are always for months, they've been talking about digital economy, digital economy. The truth is, Mr. John, Liberia is a very small country. To do most of those things is not as complex or complicated like they wanted to seem. Some of those things can be done. And at least to a larger extent, we don't have all of the ICT infrastructure. But if you go across the country, Mr. John, even in a remote places like your place you're coming from in Sando County, people there have access to cell phone and other things. So it means that we are closer to doing these things if we really have the political will and the competence to do them. But beyond that, let's look at, for example, we have a lot of unskilled labor in our country. We can't say that we don't have the chance to wait for certain companies to come build industry. All of those are long-term things, and besides that, we don't have the skill. But there are things that we could do. Mr. Jan, look at Uganda. Do your research. If you go to Uganda today, almost the size of Liberia population live by the fishery industry alone in Uganda. Over 4 million people in Uganda live on the fishery industry alone. And you know the population of Uganda as compared to Liberia. Mr. Jan, we don't need miracle. We just need political will and small money and competence and logic. In the next 3 years, like I told my friends in the government that I met with, I had conversation with, I told them, I said, look, the frustrating part is I think most of our people out there, they are not willing to even listen. That's one of the things that gives us a hard time. I told them in 2 years' time or even less, the government still have the chance to work miracles. Mr. John, there are a lot of things we can invest in. I can tell you for sure, if we invest in the fishery industry, we invest in cassava, food crops, and things. In 1 year, in 18 months to 2 years' time, you will see miracle in Liberia. And those sectors, you don't need hundreds of millions. You just need a deliberate investment. For example, deliberate investment in some of those sectors, especially agricultural sector, to change things around.
My colleague, you are spoken passionately just now. And Rabbi, please bear with us, we'll come to you. My colleague, it said that the folks in government, many of whom are your friends, are not motivated to do the work they were assigned to do, or is it more so that they don't just know what to do and they're not asking for help? What you think is the crumbs of this problem?
Yeah, See,
Mhm.
I beg you, just give me small more time. Let me say this. You know, see,
Mhm.
the level of incompetence in our government is.
Mhm.
Look, I was in Liberia. You know, the early government had left a complete mess in that country, and I just despised what it did to that country so much. But to the extent that I will have to draw a comparison and be constrained to say that at least during Madam Salif's time, we saw that she sent that signal, that government sent a signal of competence. That at least, I'm not saying there were cronyism, there were nepotism, there were others negative things there, but at least the level at which it is in our government, my government that I support, it is so frustrating. To the extent that when you go to the various ministries and agencies, you don't even have to even say hello before you see the incompetence. You don't even
Mhm.
have to, you know, just when you interact with the people, you know that you feel so sorry for the country.
Hmm.
Look, when you go to some of these ministry, the way it is being treated, the way it is so dilapidated, the way there is no system, this organization. And look, I never look, hey man, even during the interim government time where they were sharing position, it's on who had the biggest gun.
Yes.
It's almost like that. It's almost like the way it is looking now. And it is frustrating, my dear brother. I shouldn't lie to you. And when you
All
talk to
right.
even colleagues, people in the government, people are not even willing. And because for acting, I don't know what is happening. But look, I told some of my friends, I said, look, I'm waiting to see what General will bring from the office of the president. But beyond that, I think I am more leaning towards the issue of it being the lack of leadership from the president himself. Because the truth is, if the president can muster the courage to hold these people accountable for the job he gave them, we will see things going better. But nobody cares. No one cares when you go in that country, my brother.
Thank
Nobody
you.
Okay.
wants to even go to
Thank you.
work.
Let's bring Robert in.
Yeah.
Thank you, my colleague. Robert, you just listening to my
No, my
colleague
dear
who
brother,
pulled
it's,
his
it's
heart out.
pathetic.
He is a supporter of your government. I mean, he spoke well and from his heart based on what he saw. You are from there also. You just listening to a supporter of the government being so truthful and speaking honestly about the pains that our people feeling. What's your reaction?
I mean, I concur. I'm listening to him just kind of shocked a little bit because I think few months ago this gentleman was on here and he was a very strong
Yeah, he was
supporter
sounding more
of
optimistic, but right now that's the
absolutely.
paradoxical he was
But
talking about. He exposed.
but you know I will say this and I will probably take a shot at my brother Lobo who's listening right now. If Lobo and every other uh, 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 partisan of the former government will be dishonest when it comes to the lackings within their own government and the mistakes and where they fell short and looked at it from a Liberian first perspective, I think we will make progress. I think Mr. McCollum is absolutely right. Now let me get into the juice of some of the things. I got to Liberia on the 15th of December, and on that day was the day that the government initiated the mandatory COVID test, right? And so it is required based on the airline that you are flying with out of the U.S. To have a COVID-19 test taken. I think within 2 days or 3 days. And so if you're flying with Air France, for instance, you are required to have a test, and that test has to be 48 or 70 something hours. And before Liberia started, I was taken aback by Ghana that mandated a COVID-19 test, even if you took a test in the United States or anywhere else, and that test was still valid, and you could show that results in Ghana and whatnot. They still mandated you take $150 COVID-19 test. Now I haven't done it, so I'm not sure what the process is. But I went to Liberia, and I will say this: I was impressed with the setup. Right, you get there, You get off the plane and you walk towards the. They don't take you into the new terminal. You go to the old terminal and you wash your hands and you get your information, your health information. I think is they have this COVID travel thing online. It's digital, and you pay the $75 and you take the test. Uh, and and my observation was that it was impressive. But then when I asked what was the purpose of folks coming to Liberia, even with a COVID-19 test that was less than 2 days or within 2 days, what was the essence of folks taking a COVID test in Liberia? And I said it with total respect to the government and the mandate of the government, right? Because that's a whole different government, that's a whole different country. But I was trying to understand the logic, and no one could explain it to me. And while I was in the process of taking my test, uh, there were 2 or 3 persons that I know, I'm not going to call their names, who were being taken in the back. Now, when I overheard a young lady talk about, well, they are diplomats, and so they're not required to take the test. The first thing that I thought about was, well, if they're diplomats, why are they not taking towards where diplomats go? Because
So
whenever this comes to
what's the point?
the point that the overall point that I'm trying to push is the structure, the structure, or the lack thereof, right? Because not only did I have to pay $75 for a COVID test when I got to Liberia, I didn't get the results. So I paid $75, took the test. There was no mandate of quarantine. So if I was COVID positive, I took the test. It took 2 to 3 days to get the results, or whatever the case is, and I'm on my way. Right? There's no mandate of quarantine. But on top of that, you pay for a service. You pay for something you're not getting the service for. I didn't get the results. But it was interesting that 3 days prior to leaving, you still have to take another test, and you are mandated to pay $75 again. Interestingly, I got the results for that test. And then I started to say to myself, the reason why I probably got the result was because it was mandated by Brussels that anyone flying out of Liberia with Brussels, again, certain airlines, you have to take a COVID-19 test, and the result has to be given by the government. And so we had our phones, we go checked in, you show your results, they sign a little piece of paper, and they give it to you. But why did I not get my results, even though I paid and took a test? Why did I not get my results within 3 days as it was required? Why? Is it because?
Do you trust the results? The fact that you couldn't get your first results?
Well, I just didn't trust. It's not. Well, it's not that I didn't trust you. Look, to be honest with you, I don't trust the results because everything in Liberia, if you have a cold or you have whatever, you went to the hospital, it's malaria, right? So if you have a cold, fresh cold, you went and you got a spot, you got COVID. you know. So I didn't trust the results per se, but my results came back negative, which was good because I didn't want to stay another 2 weeks in Liberia. But the point that I'm making was that it appears as though the system is more concerned about not necessarily about controlling the virus in the country, because if the country was concerned about controlling the virus in the country and protecting Liberians, then it would have been critically important that I got my results and for a follow-up step. Okay.
Rabbi, I hope you're not suggesting that COVID has turned to a money-making venture in Liberia.
I mean, but if you have 150 passengers coming to the country every day, and you have 4 or 5 airlines coming at a rate of $75, you do the math. I didn't do well in statistics in college because I failed when I had to pay to take another class. But you do the math; it's a lot of money. Now, I'm not suggesting that it's a money making thing, but it is a fact that the government is making money off it, and it's good that the government is making money off it. But if you're making money off of such an important and very serious pandemic, the goal should be protecting the lives of Liberians. And I will concur that if it's about protecting the lives of Liberians and controlling the virus, then it's done in a more structural way,
Thank you.
and not just a collective money.
Thank you. So let's go. I know my colleague spoke passionately and talk about the offices, how disorganized they are, the incompetence, and you say you concur. What is the general feeling of the people about their leaders? What are they saying
So,
publicly and
so
privately
Mr.
about
John,
President Weah, about the
Yeah,
minister, about people in
Mr.
government?
John,
before my colleague comes in, someone said to me, a couple of friends actually that I know, they said to me, and the locals, they said to me that we voted for Abraham Dillon because I've been wondering why is it that people were drawn to Dillon? Is it because of his policy, because of his record? What has he done? And if you looked at Dillon's record, Dillon hasn't done much or anything other than announcing his salary and being a voice when it comes to exposing the government, right? But is it the core responsibility of a legislator, right? And so a lot of people that I spoke with, surprisingly, are people who voted for George Weah. Okay, and when you ask them why did you vote for Dillon, they will tell you, "Well, we voted for Dillon because our candidate has not done right by us. The man hasn't done right by us. Either they've hired people who was not part of the struggle, which a lot of is a sentiment a lot of people share. They've hired people who was not part of the struggle, who did not understand the struggle, who cannot relate to the struggle, and somehow are now being hired to fix the struggle, or that the government has not delivered. And Liberians are tired. And so they voted for Abraham Dillon to send a message. And so this government could actually see a message in this election and say, you know what? We have time to get our act together. We have to listen to people. We have to listen to where we fell short, where we were wrong, and we have time to correct the mess. But a lot of people didn't support or not supporting the opposition because they think they are better, because these guys had the opportunity
Yeah.
before.
And
But they are
Robert,
sending a message.
we'll come to the election. I was asking generally, what are people feeling about their leaders, both in public and in private? Let me go to Macaulay.
yeah, Mr. John, the feeling back home is not good from people that I talk to. I'm somebody who, it's just that for some of us, we don't do this sitting on the fence thing. I get in, I support one side. I pick a side, I support that side. I don't sit on the fence, those kinds of things. But for me, I support a side, but I'm also a Liberia first kind of person. Nothing I can compromise over Liberia because, like I always tell people, even prior to leaving for Liberia, I'm never going to anybody to ask them for a job. I know firsthand how to create my own job. So most of our people struggle with this job thing, and sometimes it kind of a put on your box, and we can't speak truth to power. But if you talk to people that supported the government before or that still support the government, like me, and other people that did not support the government, the truth is, I interacted. A lot of them said, "Oh, the people around the president, this and that, and stuff like that." And to the extent that I told somebody clearly, I would say, yeah, on your platform, that look, we cannot keep making excuses for the president. Nobody voted for those people around the president. We voted or we supported the president. So if they are failing and they are still there, we can't keep making excuses for the president. The president came to this job. He said he wanted this job. He said he could do it. And we believed in him and we gave him a chance to do it. So if anything goes wrong, he got to take the full responsibility for things that were going. And I was talking about some of the incompetence. Let me tell you something. Prior to coming, I used to run a clearing for the Friendly Liberia for many years. And it was thriving. At one point, it was the largest clearing for the Friendly Liberia. And I can tell you this. The guy at the port right now, the current MD, well, look, since, I don't know, since even when this guy was there, the late president, Joe Brother left from there, who the guy that took over. The guy is like he got no clue. It's like somebody just take you, just swim and throw you in the Atlantic Ocean. I am telling you reality. As a supporter of this government, I'm telling you.
Are you talking about Bill Twelve?
Yeah, the man who said he job we are no jail,
They call him Bekube Jr.
that guy got no clue. Hey man, no, Mr. John. I said, look,
And Macaulay, I'm not cutting you off. I saw a post from you, and you narrated a story how you sent a container with 8,000 US dollar items in it, but you end up spending $11,000 to clear it. And I saw so many people are responding to that. Is that part of the reason why I mean, that's part of your experience, right?
so it's not. It didn't happen when I was in the country. So
Okay.
I don't want it to sound like. And you see me, like I said, see, we've been behind this government. I don't want to sound like person. Oh, maybe they made this and that. No, the particular continent you're talking about, I cleared that continent like almost 9 months ago, and I never even mentioned about it. I only talk about it because somebody was having sharing their experience. But even before that continent I'm telling you about, it was 2018. The first continent the government took over that I cleared. You know how much it cost me to clear that continent from the port?
No.
You'll not believe it. I paid almost $40,000 US to clear that container from the port. It had two Ford Explorer, one full runner in it. And you know, and I never talk about it. And you just asking me, so I try to bring it out and stuff like that. But and some of us, we work in the system, we know how the system works, and we know, and the reason why I was not angry at the CDC-led government, because I know the reason why I paid that money was a system that was left behind that started doing Dixon Sibo, who is now the representative in the Kuchan. It was Dixon Sibo and Dr. Colley, who was at Maritime when they took over from Freedom Timer initially when the revenue area was still under finance. They don't came with all that.
Well, Macaulay, the president who have used executive order to correct that. So
yes. So that's why I was angry. But my point here now is some of us who know how things used to be and how it should be, and we have the experience and we want to share with our people that are in government. But the first this year, you know, it was surprising to note. I went Liberia. When you go Liberia, even when you go to help your own government that you're part of, people are afraid that you can't looking for their jobs.
wow.
I am telling you reality. And you have to be justifying that, look, I don't want job. And the truth for me, or God like me, shit, and send somebody beg me to put me in government, but I don't want Liberian government job at all, because the way I'm a very passionate person if I believe in something. And I don't know if a person like me with such passion can survive working for the Liberian government and then a role that have to effect change. I don't know. So, but when you go, you try to talk to your colleagues. Like I told you, see, the reality right now is tough. But there are ideas, there are things, that knowledge that some of us and some of our friends that we know that got expertise in other areas, that we're willing to contribute to our own government, tell them, say, look, we can do this, and we do this, we get the data, we get the numbers, we get the stats to support it that this can happen. We can change things around in 18 months to 2 years. People will see it. Because we're not going into long-term things, we're going into things that can be visible in 1 year time. You start to see the output. But people are not even willing because people are afraid that people here after the jobs.
Thank you.
When you start a conversation, you have this serious conversation with people in government that should take it serious. They are not even serious. They're trying to divert the conversation to something meaningless.
Thank you. Okay,
This is serious.
This is serious stuff. So let's come to some specifics. And last time, and Robert, I still in my hometown, they say when the alligator come from under the water and tell you about the crab, better believe it. But it looked like you don't. Do you believe what? Do you have a sense, or do you feel the same pains and frustration from Mr. Wooler, or did you not come close to what Mr. Wooler is explaining? I want you to either disprove, corroborate, or say something specifically to what Mr. Wooler is saying.
Robert is a well-connected guy. He got friends in government. He will always say it. So he's the right person to talk about that. So Robert, let you your side.
Well, I just said that I agree with what he said. I mean, but what Mr. Macaulay is saying though is when he talks about people, their ideas, and people, when you go and you attempt to talk to people about those ideas, and think you're taking. Look, it's the system, right? People look at the dual citizenship bill thing that we've been discussing. the referendum, right? The system is set up in a way where people will protect their jobs, people will protect their own interests over that of the country. It's nothing
Robert, I
new.
want to go specifically. Did you see the same ineptitude, corruption, mismanagement, disorganization, and mistrust that Macaulay is talking about?
And lack of respect for the very job that they are doing.
Did you see it?
Yeah, he spoke to my colleague. No, I don't want to. I don't want us to turn the show into mean uh agreeing or putting my experience into my colleague's experience. I'm not sure who my colleague spoke to. You know, he probably
No,
spoke to
both of you are
specific
from
people in
Monrovia.
government.
I want you to
Yeah,
see because
but
we
I
need to
went
get
to
different perspective on the
yeah,
same issue.
absolutely. But what he's specifically talking about when he talks about their ideas and the incompetence in government, I don't think he's speaking on that, given the fact that he spoke to every government official. I think it is glaring. When you get to Liberia, I think at the beginning of the show I spoke about it. People are struggling. It's difficult. The economy is paramount. Number one, people are struggling, and so I don't want his experience to be my experience. I'm not sure who he spoke with, but when you talk about the incompetence, I've been mentioned very clear. One of the incompetent in government is the founder minister. Okay, we spoke about that. But no, I agree with most of what he's saying, but I don't want his experience to be my experience.
All right. Thank you. Let's
So,
go.
uh,
Go ahead, Macaulay.
so Mr. John, I mean, you were talking about. I mean, I don't know, maybe Gagwa experienced this too, and I was like, simple things that people should, exercise leadership over. You know, your port of entry, like the airport, is one of the is the port of entry, one of your entrance point, right? And you should be able to protect. You should be able to serve at least the minimum standard. During departure, and I was constrained to talk to a friend of mine who knew I would not call that works at the airport. During departure, they got the line. You see, they are doing so. There are a lot of redundant things that they're doing, and you like, why are you doing this? So you go, you meet this guy, he scans your certificate that they gave you. You say you want to check whether is valid or is the original one. Yeah. Then you go, you meet another lady. She says she got to also check if it is valid. You go, you meet another person. I said just and then you go in after you even check in your bags and things. They got another health boot here. They got another health boot here. They got, and I'm like, so I called one of my friends who works at the airport, who is one of the guys out there, and I said, my dear brother, hey man, you from abroad, you from America, right? You know very well. Look, this is embarrassing. Why are we doing all these redundant things? You know, this is. I understand we gotta take precaution. We gotta do things differently because of the COVID. But why are you doing this thing? One person doing, you got over 5% doing the same thing, and it's just waste of time. And and that is
Yeah,
not
but
just. I just gave you that at the airport to tell you that even at the airport we can't even keep it straight. But I'm
Uh,
telling you, the ministries and agencies that I visited. If I
but
give you all of my experiences, my brother, I left
but
Liberia. I
Thank you.
left
Before you
Liberia.
come in, Robert, we want to go into specific things that happened while you were in Monrovia or
So,
around the same time. Hold on. We want to go to some specifics here. Around the
okay.
same time you were in Monrovia, the president released two songs. One of it is Liar Man, and the other one is Happy Birthday. How you are how were those songs received in Monrovia, and what are people
so
saying? Let me start
so
with you, Robert.
so yeah, that's very funny. That we even talking about that. But since we're talking about it, look, I went to all white party in Liberia, and was December 24th, and I visited most of the different entertainment spots in Liberia because I like to go and see the new areas, see the operations, because tourism is my area, and I have a passion for it. So I'm making my business to go to all the different places. And you know what? People, and I saw a lot of people. I even got videos and fun videos of people who have criticized the president music. and their songs. But you know, we went to this all-white party, and when the president's song comes on, I think they had a new song. You won't track me in my own country, whatever that song is. And I'm not sure if it's in alignment. When that song comes on, the DJ has to play the song 2-3 times, and I'm sitting thinking, and people are actually going nuts. People are going crazy, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. I'm looking at some of these people. The same people who criticize the president for releasing the song are the same people in the clubs. I mean, going crazy about this song. People go crazy about this song. When it's played at a party or in a club, people go. I was shocked. People go crazy. But here is my thoughts on the music release, right? And the whole birthday thing. I was driving and someone said to me, Robert, have you heard the new song? And I think the president was telling someone happy birthday. And my reaction is this: the president loves to make music. And I said to someone, I said, the president loves music. Obviously, he loves music. When he was a soccer player, he made music. But again, when you are in the position that you are in, everything that you do has to be well thought out. It has to be strategized, right? When you have a struggling economy, when you have people who have not gotten paid and the holidays are coming up, when you have people who are really, really struggling, when you have people who cannot go to the banks and collect their own money, not money that they're backing the government for, not money they're backing banks executives for, but their own money. When you have all of these very serious issues, when you have just lost an election in Massachusetts County, a county once considered a stronghold, not just once, but twice, I think it's time to go back to the drawing board and strategize and ask the tough questions and start putting in place and send the right messages. And so when I hear the person releasing music, it's not that I don't like the music. It shocks me that the person is releasing this music, the moments and the times that has been released. Why are you releasing music when preliminary results are coming out and your candidate from one of the biggest party in the country, the ruling party, has lost? Why are you releasing music when the economy is struggling, when people are not getting paid? Why? And so that's my reaction. And it goes back to what my colleague pointed out. It's the incompetence, but it's also reflection. It's also reflection of where we find ourselves.
Thank you.
Like to,
You see,
Mr. Red,
John,
Yes.
before you come in, my colleague, here's the thing. You and I were in Liberia during Charles Taylor time. It was like during Charles Taylor time, government was taking pay 2 months or 2 times in a year. But even at that, to the Christmas time, there will be only 2 months of pay. Did you ever imagine a CDC government now paying civil servants around the season time, especially during an election time? Have you ever imagined that in your lifetime?
I think he was about to comment on the songs, but go ahead. You can do two.
yeah, I can do both. The song thing, I think Gagwa struck a good point. Don't need for me to repeat those things. But in terms of the pay issue, see, I've come here a lot of times and we try to, because you see, when you are a part of a party, you are part of an institution. Even if you're angry, you got to be able to what? Use all of the internal means first to get your points across and stuff like that and all of those things. But like I said initially, for me, even when the president announced, along with the finance minister, that tuition-free stuff, I was one of the few persons from within the CDC that went against it. But surprisingly, even the Senator DeLon today, a lot of people in the opposition was commending the president for those things. And for some of us, we are not the Liberians that go out there to brag, but we love numbers. And when you love numbers, you can put numbers together. Numbers can help you to do a lot of predictive work. And all of the times that we spent in opposition, I thought those times were times that we were learning from the mistakes of the past government. What do I mean? See, President Salif government, after the downsizing and right sizing, in fact, up to 2009, our salary was around 300 million. When Madam Salif left office, it was $290 million, right?
Yeah.
But you know what that did to the country? And besides that, that was just a salary. I'm not talking about other recurring expenditure like gasoline, trash car, all the different things.
Right.
And then domestic debt, foreign debt, all of those things. Okay. But when you pay all of the government bills and everything, including our debts, there were little to no resources to invest in areas that were essential. So at the end of the day, you were waiting for donor partners to give you money to even invest in things like, for example, the agriculture sector. So I thought we as citizens in opposition will learn from that mistake. That is why when the government took over, when people were looking for jobs, running up and down for jobs, some of us, we were internally, even my friend Molu came here, we made it clear. The issue should not be about jobs, because the fact is, over 700,000 people voted you into office. See, there is no way you can incorporate all of them in government. And if you send a signal out to them that you can incorporate them, you incorporate few of them, the repercussions, you pay the price to be high. And that is exactly what happened. What happened was, when we took over, we started to carry thousands of parties in government, right? And then we carry around 7,000 people in government. Now, a lot of our parties have expectation that everybody not angry, they want job. They see people going to government. What we should have done was here, tell the people that we cannot employ everybody. We will fill the vacancy of the political appointees, that is for assistant minister and above. Okay. The rest, we're going to create a private sector opportunities, especially focus and invest that money, give the Liberian businesses, those that want to plant rice, targeted crops. And what that we're going to do, and then when you carry on your so-called harmonization process, right? That harmonization process, the monies you realize for that harmonization, we obviously was going to bring the government payroll down from 290 that you inherited to maybe around 250 or so million. Then you will be looking for less money on a monthly basis to pay your civil servant, and you have extra money that you can invest. For example, we can't say we want to prioritize the agriculture sector. Look, economic issues, they don't happen because you imagine them. They happen because you take deliberate attempt to effect the change you want in those sectors. If you say you want to invest in agriculture, you don't have to depend on donor funding for that to happen, because the bottleneck, the bureaucracy can be a lot. You need to take, for example, take $10 million
conclude on that point. We have a lot of
certificate in the red sector. Give the people to plant cassava. Give the people to plant a lot of food crops and other things that in 1 year time, you will see the output. And those are monies that you will be giving, that you're not giving it to them free. You're giving it as loan with flexible interest.
Thank you, Mr. Woolen. Yeah, we have a lot of callers and comments on. So we want to bring on our first caller, but let's look at a few comments, because we have still have grounds to cover here. And then we bring on our callers. And if you are watching us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Mr. C is right here in the headquarters, where he has come. And I see somebody reminding us, Mr. C, that there should be social distancing. But no, this guy was tested and he got his result. And I got my result too. It didn't take a long time. Okay. So, Macaulay, you remember John Lobo? He said Macaulay would like to apologize to me openly for defending this government.
He said this fake 419 government. Why you don't want to read that?
Well,
that's his comment.
That's derogatory. That's why I escaped the fake 419 government.
We can hold you accountable for that statement, so read it.
Yeah, I'm not going to repeat it.
Okay.
So I think Lobo too should apologize to me for. In fact, he's still defending the Unity Party government. So we could have, for me, the thing I tell people is, for me, it's about Liberia. Lobo, I don't mind right now apologizing to you. But if you can always come and be consistently dishonest to defend the Unity Party government, then that's where we have the difference. The difference of ideas. But
and let me say, Macaulay, let me help you out.
Is bigger than Liberia. I
Okay.
support you. I have patience. I exercise restraint. But Liberia first for me. I don't need any
My
favor
my
or any influence for anybody in Liberian government sector.
my colleague, let me help you out. Before Dennis, before you come in, let me just say this. And George is my brother. Let me just be very, very clear. George is my brother. We speak on many issues off the record, and I love that guy. He's a great guy, great access to Liberia. But George has no ground to even question or ask for any apology from my colleague for defending the government, a government that he's come back now after a couple of times to say, hey, these are things I'm not happy with. These are things that need to be changed. As George, when last did George admit to any mistake or wrongdoing under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf? If George can admit to one thing, then I will publicly ask my colleague to apologize. If not, George just keep quiet.
Let me read a few comments and then we go to our phone lines. And hold back your responses until we ask you. Emmanuel Sako, talk more about the president's sons. They are bread and butter issues. Are you guys serious?
Well,
Okay.
the songs.
Moses, I agree with your economy analysis, brother. That is so true. Musu Slongo, you only go back to the drawing board if one was created before. I doubt if there's one to go back to. Talking about going back to the drawing board. Asumana is asking us to please post the numbers. Yeah, the numbers is scrolling there on the screen. Please look at it. Bottom cooler. It is simple multiplication. 150 times 4 is 600. 4 planes. I'm not sure where that is going. Moses saying, wow, that Macaulay were talking here. So I can't believe my ears. So Robert, why you keep laughing? So at this time, let's open the phone line. Okay, so the first caller here is Asumana. Asumana, you are live. Go ahead. Hello, Asumana, you are live.
Good evening. Thank you for bringing me on, and I want to say thank you to your panelists.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Little more volume, please, if you can.
All right. Thank you for bringing me on. I want to say thanks to your panelists. My question is going towards the COVID test at the airport. They are saying that you take the COVID test and some of them did not get their result. And my concern here is that you're taking a COVID test without getting the result, but are they really protecting the citizenry in the country? Because I see people who leave from here go to Liberia, they are not even taking precautions like wearing masks. The entire country don't have masks. So what's the essence of the COVID test? Are they just for money making or to see or to protect the entire citizenry? Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take another one. This one is from the man, George Lobo. George, you are live.
Thank you very much. Let me say thanks to the two brothers in the studio. I call into a strike a point, and since Robert said, I've never ever said anything that was done wrong by the UP government. I just wanted to clear that up before I get to my reason for calling. Robert, just for the record, I think it's about time when we come to this national discourse to be factual. I've been pretty speaking on the issue of income inequality and financial mismanagement. So maybe if you have a problem with hearing, I can continue to state it over and over. So that's one thing. I told you that while it's true people's income was increased, I needed more done. I can't go back and forth. But there are other things that I've also criticized. The reason why I'm calling is I just wanted to first and foremost say, if I call it red. When I ask for an apology, it's because we've had these conversations over and over. You just stated here that privately, you've been talking to people in the government about what they were doing. But in the public, you were here defending the government. So that in itself is telling that people how dishonest you've been. But privately, you are telling the people that the government is not working, but you are on here constantly defending the government, knowing that the government was proceeding wrongfully and was doing bad. I listened to you and Robert go back and forth. And I want to say this to Liberians. I will apologize to those of you who anticipate I was going to be on here and arrive in the country. I made it home last night very late, and I spoke to Anthony. That is why I'm not on here. I should have been on here with you guys. But I want us to be very, very honest. When I talk about honesty, not coming on here, the both of you were in Liberia for over 20 days each. You had the privilege, you had the opportunity to speak truth to power in Liberia. I never heard one of you say anything in Liberia, not once. And we cannot be advocate for convenience. We must stand for what we believe in. All of us had the same opportunity while in Liberia. Not to come to America before we begin to talk and point out the ills in society. But let's leave that. Let's come to something Macaulay Red spoke about. Both he and Robert talk about the economy and circumstances that proceed on the ground. And Macaulay Red, you've been very disingenuous when you talk about Liberians were happy. There's no father who goes to a bank and stand on the line for 2-3 hours and can receive money to pay his children's school fee that is happy. That is not what happiness reflects.
Okay, right? Mr. Lobo, just if you that's the assessment. You can go ask the question or just conclude.
Here's my question to Macaulay Red. On this show, Macaulay Red and I debated a few months ago, and he talked about the progress that was being made in the agriculture sector. I listened to District Number 8 lawmaker Honorable Akam Mose, who told the Liberian people that since the appointment of the new agriculture minister, that over 20 million have gone to that sector. And Macaulay Red stated to us categorically clear what have been done to improve the agriculture sector with that money.
Thank you.
The finance, that's one of my questions. Here's my next question. Macaulay Red admitted that the economic management team is now working, given the fact that he was in Liberia and he said he saw Liberians smiling. I want him to tell us what the basis upon which Liberians were smiling knowing their parents were not being paid, given the fact that they have money stuck up in the bank they can't get out. What is the yardstick? What is he using to say Liberians were smiling? Those are my questions.
Thank you so much.
To Macaulay Red, please. Because Robert is running around too much. Let Macaulay Red speak to you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, let's take one more caller, then we bring you in. That will be Mr. Aliyu Kamara.
Yes, sir. Gentlemen, thank you for having me. I was in Monrovia around the same time the gentleman was there. I came back in December. Macaulay got he said the truth. He said the truth about a whole lot of stuff. I am not here to persecute or prosecute him for being a part of CDC. I think it is part of our being as humans to have a side. And we all cannot be on the same side. Liberians are the most resilient people on earth for all of the places I have traveled. This, my last trip, happens to be the most difficult time for the people in Liberia economically. But look, and Dennis, the people are playing. The people are happy. The kids are happy. And I'm going to tell you one thing. You don't find minority people in Monrovia and the suburbs. The people look good. In fact, when I go to Liberia, what I normally do is I try to mingle. I wear my slipper, I wear my truck trousers in my t-shirt. That's how I hang around. And as a result of that, I do get the actual realities in Liberia. When I went across the county and other places that I went, I get the actual reality. Because they don't see me as somebody who is coming from somewhere or somebody who has another class whatsoever, which I don't. So I do see the actual realities of the ground. The Liberian people are happy, and there's no way around that. And when I was there, I kept asking myself, Dennis, I would put $100 in my pocket within 45 minutes. Just once I change it, then the money is gone, and I can't show anything for $100 in Liberia, where some people still make it $30 a month. But I see people are so low. Even when I was coming at the airport, I almost missed my flight because I was in a joking competition with a group of Liberians, even some of the employees who had just left their shift. And they were outside out of the terminal who were joking and playing and stuff like that. You couldn't tell how difficult the country is. So the reality remains that the Liberian people, I want to declare here today that they are the most happy people on earth, regardless of the circumstances. Let that politicize the reality.
Thank you.
We all supported George. Some of us supported George Weah, but just because we supported George Weah does not mean that we knew that George Weah was going to be involved every day. So nobody can hold Macaulay responsible for George Weah as a negligence. But thank you for having me. We can spend a whole day talking on it. But thank you for having me.
Thank you. Gentlemen, give your comments and then we bring in one more caller.
Yeah, so there were a lot of questions asked First, let me say, Lobo said I was being dishonest by having private conversations and coming publicly and defending the government. I don't know if Noble understand how organizations work or how institutions work or how if you are part of a political organization. For example, if a government takes over, right? I am not one of the lieutenants in government, and they economic is not an exact science; it's a social science. They are convinced of their own economic policies that they are instituting. I have a different lens, I have a different perspective, and I share privately. It is optional for them to buy into my idea or not. Okay. But I don't know. I'm not the driver of the vehicle. I don't know what all they are seeing. I don't know what all their expectations are. I don't know what they don't, because they are privileged to have information that I don't have. So I will only communicate with them privately and give them the benefit of the doubt to see what the outcome of their policies will realize. While at the same time, Lobo, if you can recall, most of my presence here has been to discuss this government versus your government, the Unity Party-led government. And not because of what I'm saying today means that my stance have changed. I'm telling you, the Unity Party-led government had the greatest opportunity ever in Liberia history, and she squandered it. And I remain very resolved on that particular point. So I'm not here to say, oh, this and that. So I will not be dishonest. I will just be an institutional person. And every institution, even where I work in a professional career, I got disagreement with my bosses. I still have to know how to carry it around until we reach at a certain level. The next thing you talk about, because I see like brand people are smiling, are being disingenuous and stuff like that. Like the last caller said, I don't know if you know what analogy is, or because I was just making an analogy of the realities in the country and my premise before making a statement. All of you listen to me. I said when I enter the country, I see hard time, I see how difficult things are. And the logic here is in spite, and I use this exact word, despite all of the hard times I saw, but I saw the people, I saw the children playing with smiles on their faces. I saw people, look, in fact, like one of my friends that went Liberia with me, I've not been to Liberia since the war started in 1989. And you know what that friend told me? They could not believe how they say, damn, the people here, but they too far, they were all the kind of things they're going to put looking at this and this. And like the right word, gateway use and the last color use. Liberians, and I'm convinced I can argue it anywhere, are the most resilient people. Because look, with the current economic realities and the way I see the people living, the joy I see on their faces, nobody, that does not mean I'm insinuating, I'm suggesting that, oh, it is all rosy and bread and butter. No. And
Thank you. Let's bring Robert in. Maybe you can deal with the other ones.
okay,
Yeah.
all right,
So
yeah.
so
Most
so
of the
I
question
just
was addressed to me, but no
so
problem.
so
Robert could go on.
I just want to touch on George. George have been saying, well, you guys were in Liberia, not once did you say anything, and you waited to come to America before you say something. I just found that to be ignorant. I I don't understand what standard or guidelines or whatever it is that mandates that because you are in Liberia and you see something, you must speak on it in Liberia. And if you wait until you leave Liberia, it becomes irrelevant. I don't get that logic. I think it's silly. There are people who go to Liberia and people who knows that have gone to Liberia many times and I've spoken on issues many times. I mean, I was in Liberia in January before I just recently went, and we were talking about the assistant minister of information being in it. We were in Liberia on a radio station when I made clear that I didn't believe in someone's way. And these are people who are genuinely close to the president. I've made my position clear many times, explicitly clear many times where I stood. And so this whole idea that because you speak on issues when you have left Liberia makes you a coward or makes the issue that you are now speaking on irrelevant makes no sense to me. let me answer the question of a gentleman. I think he was asking about the essence of the COVID test. Now, I work in the health ministry, and so I won't answer that for them. They probably know, but just generally, one would think that the essence of the COVID test is to control, have some sort of control on the spread of the coronavirus, right? And so you want to make sure that people entering the country from hotspots are not coming in with the virus, and I respect that. My issue though is that the way it's been done, Cigna, is indicative of the fact that they're more concerned about collecting the money than what they should be concerned about, which is the protection of Liberian citizens. Because a lot of people who came into the country and paid the $75 and was told that they will get their results in 3 days via the mobile phone did not get the results in 3 days. However, on the way back, you get the results only because Brussels mandates that without that result, you can't get on the plane, which also affects business, the airline business in Liberia and employees. And so it kind of makes me skeptical about the structure, the purpose for which they've had all these things set up. And it is my hope that as we move forward, because the COVID is still serious, it's still damaged. Look what happened in California. And so it's my hope that there's more purpose to what's going on with that whole COVID thing, that people understand that it's very serious and that the government is not only interested in collecting the money, but protecting the lives of the Liberian people.
Thank you. Let me read a few comments and I bring in our
Yep.
next batch of callers. Dave Giles says Liberians are resilient because of those in the diaspora, the very people they are discriminating against. Thomas Awaji, yes, in spite of it all, the Liberian people have always been strong. We just need better leadership in the country. Patrick Comontes, thanks, Ure, for your great analysis. You said it all. Sam Wallow, incredible. Talk about an out of touch individual, zero self awareness in that color. Not sure who the caller is. Dixon Gonga, George Lobo have no moral to question anybody in the present government. This is not 2008, 2009, where he was on Capitol Pass praising Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in Monrovia, Masurado County. The brother will have the right to defend the CDC-led government because he's institutional candidate. Dennis Coty, we have been told that Rabos International Airport Road has been rehabilitated to a 4-lane road to and fro. Is this true? Just so I know, guys, as I read more comments. Michelle Richards Hubbard, I agree, Mr. Willer. It was extremely frustrating to present documents to different people for the same function. Waste of money and time. All right. Let's bring in our next caller.
Steve Bola, you are live.
Thank you, Mr. Josh. I want to start off this evening by saying good evening to all of you, Mr. C in Georgia there, to him, also to Robert and Mr. Macaulay. I want to go to them tonight. I also want to remind them that Liberian people are the most important people on earth, and the Liberian women are the most beautiful women on earth. That is a fact. Let me start off by saying I want to thank Mr. Macaulay to extend my respect here, even though I respect every work, but he escalated to a higher level. And the reason I say this is because this is also an uncalled for from day one. It's nothing against the CDC-led government. It's nothing against anybody, because some of us were not interested in political jobs or anything. But you see, the first step in fixing anything or in healing, in any healing process, is to recognize that there is a problem. I want to appreciate Mr. Macaulay tonight for saying the truth. I guess indeed there is a problem. He recognizes that. And the truth of the matter is this problem is not just a CDC problem. I come to realize and understand that this problem was inherited both by the CDC and the UP-led government. George Weah presided over some of those concessions while he was in the Senate at that time. That brought some of the economic problems we're having today. Joanne Howard Taylor was there as well. So it's a combination of both parties at the time. Now it blows my mind to see people who are in the UP want to clean and want to see my brother UP did everything that was wrong. That's wrong. If there is a problem, there is a problem. Both parties contributed to the problem. And let's point it out. Some of us have always said, nothing against any political party. The truth is, there are lots of incompetence in this government. That exactly the problem. So all I'm saying is, I want to thank the gentleman, and I think we as Liberians can come together and see how best we can help, with some of the solutions. But yes, we must recognize that there is a major problem in every sector for the most part. Economically, socially, however you put it, there are problems. That means I want to be focus on like this, to focus on like that, and we'll continue to follow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's read a few more comments before we bring in two more callers. River says, Pro say, Robert, GB is not a bastard dish. You must have been hanging with the wrong folks. Cooper Kwame is asking you, Robert, he said, the queen is your girlfriend, really, RG? Saki White, how are you doing? As soon as spending weekend with Dennis? Yes, Saki, Mr. CA is in Focus on Liberia headquarters. He's also asking, Macaulay, are you based in Liberia or the US? Macaulay is right here in Minnesota. He came back to Minnesota from Liberia, and we are asking him. Cooper Kwame again, he said, happy, resilient are worlds that have allowed leaders of Liberia to take advantage of our people. The people are depressed. Cooper still say, all the people need is jobs. Western Union and MoneyGram remittances have also emboldened the government to take all that belongs to all, leaving the people hopeless and helpless. This cannot continue. Baton Kula, people don't trust the banking system or the government. First, the government said no, 16 billion was missing. Then they said too much money was on the market and they had to do the 25 million mop up. Now the money they mop up is nowhere to be found. Jackie Sayer, the Ugandan government announced years ago that they organized an armed unit to protect their fishing waters. Does Liberia have that? Macaulay, that's a question you can put in your pocket. While we move on to read more comments. Miriam Roberts, I would not take my money to any bank in Liberia. That's
Sam Wallow.
Sam Wallow, there's a long one. Liberia does not have central bank experts. Let's not throw the word expert around lightly. The countries need a multi-year contractual agreement with former central bank head from a successful third country with staff of skilled individuals to come in and stand up at the central bank so that it is functional, while at the same time training their Liberian successors. This is the model that used to successfully develop and provide coaching and guidance to Liberian mid and senior level. Okay, let's go. Let me read the last comment. We go to our callers again. Even the local government, nothing to see in the various counties. The superintendent, city mayor, development superintendent, nothing, nada. Let's bring in one more caller.
Talking about callers, the man, Dixon Conga. Dixon, you are live.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for allowing me on the show. Mr. Ray, I appreciate you. Thank you for your participation on the show. To come straight to the point is, Brother George Logo, like I said continuously, you have no right to question anybody. In fact, somebody who is working as a people in this government, he has no right. Because back in the days when you were all kept up by in 2008, 2009, they were the one pretty early from one country to another. Today, you cannot show me one newspaper that you ever condemned the Unity Party government or article. You show one article, I will never call on the show to make a point. So he has no right to question anybody on any talk show.
Thank you.
This government have done some significant things that we as people have failed to realize. Most people taking out who has somebody talk about a highway. You were here right there last year when the government started paying people for this international road, taking their pictures, pay them. The road leading from ESW Junction to red light. You go there today, people have been paid, but we don't see these things. My brother, who got been on yourself for 25 billion and 16 billion. Look, talk show host. You need to educate people to stop giving people this false food. My people at the doctor will continue to tell people that the month up to 25 million. There was no 25 million month up. There was 17 million, my brother. Stop this lie.
Thank you, Dixon.
Mr. McCarthy, it's a institutional point. No, I just want to play the air on issue. I'm going to
Okay.
my point. But McCarthy is an institutional point. We come to the show to defend the government. We all know that they are lapsing, that the government curve from the previous government. But we as a institutional party cannot go on air because we have this satisfaction with the government and start to insult that some of the guys that we today. Back in 2008, 2009, 2010, you never see them on air insult the president, even their early jobs.
Thanks you, Dixon. Just conclude. Conclude. We got more callers.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I will lay for you. 2008 people went home for 80,000, our lady 2008, 2009 will come to America. People were hungry all over the place. There was no job. The downtown people, for the downtown people spoke up for students, spoke up, people died. Why can't he come out to say this? We know that the government has been tied off because
Thank you.
The economic situation we have in Liberia. Mr. McCarthy, I hold you high and see, thank you. Continue to push or don't listen to anybody who want to come and try to bring you down.
Thank you. Thank you. Backus Matthew is watching us on YouTube. He said, Mr. We are dropping songs at the wrong time, guys. And then one more caller or comment before I bring in two more. Of Dave just said, folks, we are is a lost cause. The brother does not have the least competence to lead a nation. The man did not even participate in student politics or governance during his days. How dare would anyone expect him to lead a failed nation out of dungeon? Mr. Willer, you are growing. Kudos. Let's go to our phone lines again.
And talking about phone lines, we have the man Moses B. Colley. You are live. You have a minute, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking my call, Dennis. I appreciate this phone call. This is my concern, and this has always been my concern about we the Liberian in the diaspora. We always criticize. Matter of fact, I live in Liberia. I work in the U.S. I travel there twice a year. My family, my kids live there. We are very good at criticizing the government, whether it's alien government, whether it's this my approach. With all of the remittance, my approach is that we, the diaspora, need to organize ourselves economically, strategically. We need to collect this and aggregate this remittance and start to develop banks and credit union within the United States instead of just dumping this money into Liberia, right into the foreigners that have businesses. I always ask this question before you criticize Liberia in the diaspora. Show me a community in the diaspora that have these four institutions: schools, supermarkets, banks, okay, and other things that you need, other essential elements that you need to run a community. We are very good at criticizing Liberia, but it says there is a saying: when you point one finger, you got three coming back to you. I strongly believe the most powerful, okay, and one of the most important Liberians in this world is the diaspora. We have the skills, we have the academics, we have the most important economical power. That's aggregated. But we are very good at ignoring our important role and how we are contributing to what the influences of our economy. I strongly believe that we, Liberian diaspora, put our act together and do what we hate the most, which is to organize. That's what I would tell Liberian. We despise organizing on an economical level.
And Mr. Colley, do you think we have the mullah too? The mullah?
We do have the money. The World Bank tell us we do have the money. We send a lot of money, but it has to be aggregated, sir.
Thank you.
We cannot just take our money and dump it into Liberia.
All right, thank you.
I don't know.
Financial base, and then engineer how to pump it into Liberia. With this, we're going to create private sector, and it's going to change the economy.
Thank you.
I want to respond to that statement by the last caller.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, my dear brother, to a large extent, I agree with you. I'm one of those that, for example, when I was in Liberia, even my relatives and friends that I talked to, I told them, I said, look, we got to stop this complaining and complaining. It is not, there's nothing wrong with it. We got to hold our government accountable, but we ourselves, we got to work harder. Because the truth is, despite all the things we just mentioned about the struggle, there are a lot of good things happening in Liberia too. And but most of those things are happening by foreigners. And most of those foreigners, Mr. Ja, are people that went to Liberia with nothing. People are going to Liberia empty-handed, but they are working so hard and they are becoming successful. But we, the Liberians ourselves, we always want certain kinds of jobs. And those things are part of the problem that we have, and we cannot work together. You know, it's a cliche, but it's true. They say the ownership that Liberian people cannot run a partnership. Because I can tell you firsthand,
And
some of
my
us in
brother, you have to
Liberia,
join this partnership we on now. Focus on
we,
Liberia.
we,
You
we
want
have
to join
come
the
up with,
partnership?
with innovative ideas. By the
Mhm.
time we encourage our friends, we call a meeting. So let's discuss. This is the idea. We can join hands and do this back home and over the year. Your very friends that you always hanging out. When you call them next time, they don't want to pick up your phone.
Right. All right.
But these are the same friends that used to call for social gathering. But lastly, somebody talk about you got what I don't have protection for our fish industry and thing. You mentioned Uganda. In as much as Uganda is doing well with coastal protection stuff for fish fisher people or nautical mal protection rather, but a huge portion of our fish are coming from fish farming. It's not even coming from the Atlantic, it's not coming from the ocean or even the Lake Victoria or how you call that lake together. A huge of those fish coming that they exporting to Europe and other part of the world coming from
Yeah.
fish farming. That's what I was talking about. I appreciate if you have the time, one of these days, let me come and let have this conversation about what are some of the things that the government have done wrong and what can we do right over the next 18 months to 2 year period to turn things
You
around.
can count on focus on Liberia, Mr. Oda.
Thank
And
you.
we have an
Thank you.
in-depth
Well,
discussion
let's
about
bring
all
in
of
our
these things.
last caller for the night.
And caller, if you are listening to the show, please turn it off. We don't want any feedback. We are about to bring you in, please. Caller calling from New Jersey with phone number ending in 2004. Please, you are live.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Your name and where you calling from?
My name is Sonny. I'm calling from New Jersey, Atlantic City.
Your full name,
I always
please.
call the show. My phone is Tower Johnson.
Thank you.
Yeah, I always call the show. I want to say Happy New Year and Merry Christmas. Welcome you guys. You guys doing a great job. I think my brother Robert, I remember the last time I saw him on the show. I want to say thank you. And also, Mr. CDC, I want to say thank you. But, I used to support George Manawia. I'm not a musician, but I watched the when I was a little boy in Liberia. I saw him playing soccer. I saw him playing when he came during the war. He was the one that helped the Liberian people and all of you guys. But one thing Opon did, I really wanted to say, you need to fire Summer 12. Like Mr. Theo always says, Summer 12 comes to just lie to us. The thing that suffering Opon is Summer 12. The economy is real bad. Opon lose the elections. He didn't lose the election because they never brought economy to the people. The people put him there because they thought he was going to bring jobs. Opon is a man that's supposed to go around the world and bring jobs to people, bring people to come. That's like when people give us money. And like when people can't see themselves, they cannot do nothing. That's not what the money is there for. He told the people you're going to create jobs, you're going to do things, you're going to bring jobs and jobs and jobs. And so there's no jobs in Liberia. That's why he lose the December 8th election.
Thank
Not
you.
because they hate him, not because they didn't like the CDC, but because he's not creating jobs. And I think it's time for Samuel 12 to go. Samuel 12 is the one of the worst, the Prime Minister Liberia ever getting Liberia. Even Charles Taylor, who never had support from the international world. The economy was not bad there. It was better in 1991, 98, 94, and 95. But Charles Taylor was president. Today, the economy is worse. So Samuel 12 needs to go.
If Opon don't fire Samuel 12, I'm saying it, keep me on record. Opon will lose 2023. Opon will lose the election come 2023 if you don't fire Samuel 12. Samuel 12 is now. We'll look for somebody in America or Western Liberia to change the economy around. If the economy don't win, turn around from now to 2023, Opon will lose. The CPP will say, I'm not nobody member. I want my people in Liberia to enjoy, to have the best one. So you guys, thank you for the show. I'm watching the show. Thank you guys.
All right, gentlemen, let's squeeze that one in quickly.
Before that,
okay.
Hey, gentlemen, one thing I wanted to discuss is before we get to Liberia, there were 3 missing gentlemen. All right, that means you were in Liberia, and then there was all these deaths. When you got to Liberia, what is the news? Or were you afraid to go out because of the many deaths that happened before you got there? And what is the latest on the 3 guys that were missing with fingers being pointed for one reason or the other to St. Moses? Just let's be very brief. We have our last caller to bring in. Let me start with Robert.
No, first, I didn't hear anything about the auditors that passed. I did not hear much about them. Now, to the question about the security and being afraid to move around at night.
And the 3 missing gentlemen at the...
No, I never heard anything about the 3 missing gentlemen. I never heard anything about the 3 missing gentlemen. Now, as far as being afraid to move at night, one of my concerns, though, has to do with the fact that, for one, I was never afraid to move to go anywhere, right? I'm in my car. I have my people with me. We'll go to where we're supposed to go and we'll go home. Obviously, you have to always watch your surroundings. But one of my concerns has to do with the security checkpoints at night. Excuse me. Most of the police officers that are supposed to be checking and making sure that things are done accordingly at night, whenever you stop at these checkpoints, and I believe it hasn't happened to I don't. Instead of checking, they're basically begging for money. Not only are they begging for money, they are begging for alcohol. And so if you go to a checkpoint and you're drinking in the vehicle, even if the driver had a Hennessy bottle in his or her hand, and they stop at that checkpoint, and that officer would say, "Oh, my man, hey, the man, yo, let me get a shot. You got a cop down there?" It's troubling. It's funny, but it's troubling that we have officers, first of all, drinking on the job, people begging for money instead of doing the security work. You could have a dead body in the back of a trunk, and you could just pass what your security checkpoint just by giving a police officer $10 or $5 or 500 liberty. And I think that's a threat to our security. So there's a lot of work we have to do when it comes to ensuring that these police officers are not only paid accordingly to do their jobs effectively, but they are paid on time. And I think that's one of my concerns.
And my caller, before you come in on security, let's bring in our last caller here, the man Jimmy Eastman. Full disclosure, he is an affiliate here. Jimmy, quickly.
Yeah, can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, Jimmy, you are live. Go ahead.
Okay, hey, I'm glad. It's a very interesting show. I'd like to ask the panel who came back if they ever observed something different. We were very optimistic when the president got elected, simply because we thought he was a man from the roots and he would have done something. But when it comes to economics, it's not a guessing game. You have to know what you're doing. In other words, the first thing he had to do was close up the loops. That is, in the mining industry, all those other industries that are leaking now. We hear about foreigners mining, taking things out of the country. So we wanted them to tighten up those holes where the government was losing revenue. We didn't see that. The other part of economics is getting people to invest in the country. That is, starting factories, starting the businesses that will get people jobs. 2 ways to do that. You have to create the climate. You have to ease the commercial restrictions, encourage them, create an atmosphere that businessmen are going to look eager to. And also, you need some contact. You need influence outside there to convince people that Liberia is the place to invest. We don't see that. In fact, business people that I get in contact with, I'm in contact with some prominent business people over there, and they said it's increasingly different. One of the main things they mentioned is the judicial system. The judicial system has not been addressed. They feel that if they bring money in the country and invest it, they will not get due justice. In other words, the justice system is impaired. And once a businessman doesn't think he was going to be able to retrieve his money if he's invested, he will be discouraged from investing. So those are the things we wanted to see. But unfortunately, at least from my observation, it has not been addressed. The critical things that will change the economy.
Thank you, Jermaine.
For your panelists, have they seen any changes in that direction?
Thank you. And Macaulay, let's start with you. The gentleman has a couple of questions there.
Go ahead.
Well, few things. You know, there are a lot of things that I really want us to talk about, but to talk about changes, I can tell him that the judiciary has always been a problem, and I don't know, it's still a problem because one, we need you see, Liberia problem is complex because it's more than just individuals. You know, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. I talk about even some of those ministries and agencies that I spoke about. See, some of the people that are leading those agencies or ministries, they are from here. They are from the U.S. right here, where you and I live. And some of those people are down there working. To be honest, not everything a president will be able to see, because the truth is, when you are a leader, you cannot see everything. In as much that we'll fault you for everything. But see, it is you and I. Some of our brothers go to NPA, go to other places. It is people like you and myself from the U.S. that went back home, that know what organization means, that knows what institution means,
Mr. Wule,
professionalism means, are the ones running those places, and they are in, or they are so dilapidated, they are so dysfunctional, and they are so down like the way they are.
Mr. Wule, speaking about that, since you're on that same line, there's a comment here from Comfort Wilson saying Samuel Toure is not the problem, because you actually called for Samuel Toure to be replaced. Says Samuel Toure is not the problem to Liberia. Numerous nonsense, the way she puts it. If Toure is put away, will you guys carry all the solution back to Liberia?
So the thing is, Mr. John, like I talked about it initially, right? And the funny thing is, I know Liberians, we don't believe in ourselves, we don't believe in each other. That is one of our challenge. So some of the problem with the current government is there are people out there, there are a lot of Liberians, even CDCs, there are a lot of us from the CDC who have great ideas, who can support those ideas with the statistics and everything. But the truth is, they are not even willing to give attention to any of those suggestions, because the first thing, like I stated, people just want to go in government, work, get paid, and they didn't go there to effect any change. So when they see people coming, they get afraid. They don't even want to give you the opportunity, because they're afraid, thinking that you're coming after their jobs.
Okay,
so
before I
some
go
of the challenges, and there where the leadership issue has to come in. There where the president. Unfortunately, I did not see the president on this trip. I'll be going to Liberia in 5 weeks. I'll be back in Liberia in 5 weeks. And I will ensure that I see the president, because there where the president has to take that leadership role to be able to make sure that when you are at an agency, you must be able to give, like even the public financial management law, we talk about what quarterly report and all of those things. People must be able to give quarterly report on their performances. Because look, even the roads that the government will say, oh, we're building roads. I agree. I was surprised. A lot of community that I never even saw on the list. I drove in there, I saw the road were paved. I was very excited about that. But even the maintenance of some of the major roads, they will talk about, if you go in Broadway area, that whole Douala, the bypass to be a factory, some just simple things, simple fixes, simple things that people are popular with ministry should be able to take trucks and just fill certain roads to allow the traffic to flow.
Mr. Wule, before I go to Robert, I asked Robert about the auditors and the missing boys. He said he didn't even hear it. So Mr. Charles E. King, that's old police deputy director, is asking.
What you saying? Oh,
I mean, former, not oh, I meant the O in terms of former, but former police director is saying, you. I mean, surprised that you didn't hear about the auditor's death or the missing boys. What did you hear
Yeah.
concerning those killings or deaths?
Message, did I hear nothing about it?
Oh, you. So they say Liberia people that they got Coca-Cola, something. So was it the result of this Coca-Cola reaction?
I mean, I don't understand what
maybe
was
it's part
supposed
of
to
the
be heard.
resilience that you guys talk about. They are so resilient that even when their brothers and sisters die under mysterious circumstances, they just move on.
And
No,
so
no, I think no, I think
the absence
no.
of any talk about the auditor issue in itself suspect as to what is happening relative to this issue. So,
Dennis, I'm not sure if I can come in. I'm not
yeah.
sure what else. I'm not sure what else was to be expected in regards to this case. I didn't hear anything about it, and I don't think anyone who went to Liberia heard anything about it unless you specifically went to inquire about the case and where it currently stands. But a few things I'm gonna touch on. I think one of the callers was asking about Roberts Field Highway being expanded to a 4 lanes. So no, that's not true. Roberts Field Highway is still a one-way in, one-way out situation. I think the government has started breaking down homes in that to start to for that 4 lanes project. And I don't think that will start maybe until sometimes the middle of this year. Uh, I wanted to touch on opportunities, and I think I heard Macaulay talk about the expectations when it comes to those who voted for CDC. We have to create a system, not one that is centered around politics or politics, right? And here's what I mean by that. Government in Liberia has been the highest employer in Liberia for many years. On the chart center, we have more people working in government, or more people expecting to work in government just because they support the government than taking their skills in the private sector. Under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, we had government as the highest employer, right? Under this government, there were politicians who thought that just because George Weah won the election, everyone would have gotten employed. How? Through government. And so we have to break this high dependency on government when it comes to jobs, and really focus seriously on putting in place a system that flourishes the private sector. There are two industries of sectors in Liberia I strongly believe will create us more jobs. One is agriculture, but before agriculture, I will say tourism. And this is my background. We have the spots. We have the natural and cultural appeals to become a tourist hotspot. And some of the conversations I've been having with people at the education ministry is, how do we think about strategically, think about changing our curriculum where you have less people doing political science. If you go to the University of Liberia right now, you go to all of the major universities, there are more young men doing political science and business than you have people doing hotel management or tourism. But 89% of those young men who graduate in political science or business, there's no guarantee of getting a job. There's no guarantee of getting a job. One of the biggest things in Liberia right now are entertainment. I think that's why Macaulay was saying everyone looks happy, because every quarter of Liberia, even in the remote places, you have some sort of entertainment going on. People are out there enjoying themselves. But have we been?
Robert, before
One
you land,
second.
before you land, Charles Officer Director King is asking, you were talking about tourism in Liberia. Say tourism, where the crime rate in Liberia, and no one talks about murder in the country. Is that where you want tourists to go?
Look, I want you can't look at revitalizing an entire industry, an entire sector on reports about, and I'm not undermining what's going on with the missing auditors, right? I think that's the legal issue that should be handled legally, right? Okay. But there are lots of other issues that center around the revitalization of the tourism sector to ensure that is flourishing and we're benefiting from it. Other than just security, security is very important. But what I am saying is we have to start somewhere. We all can't just be dependent on government jobs, and that's like right now because everyone is dependent on government job. This is the reason why you have all of these guys who voted for one government after 3 4 months. You found them criticizing the government because they didn't get that way because they didn't get that job. We have to focus on industries and sectors in Liberia and put in place technical and vocational training that will train Liberians to work these jobs. I said on my social media page before, and I will say right here, any government who invests in tourism and agriculture will be that government who create the most job in the private sector in Liberia. And I think right at this moment, we have to. Can you imagine there are even people are importing chefs in Liberia when we have 80% of our homes cooks? Yeah, people are importing chefs from Ghana, Nigeria, and from Europe, and these folks don't even know how to cook. Our pepper soup, when you go to this restaurant, they have pepper soup with no pepper in it. What's the essence of pepper soup when you don't have pepper in it? And so we have to get better and do better in terms of creating jobs for our people so they're not much too dependent on government.
Thank you, gentlemen. We are way out of time. We're sorry. We cannot take more callers and comments. We just want to end here tonight because I think the brothers, our guests, gave us a gist of that opinion in the country. I think we should call you back because we did not get to the conclusion. We didn't even cover all the areas. So go ahead, Mr. Stewart.
And then that is so true. Our guests were able to give us enough, but it seems that our viewers are still hungry and thirsty for more. So if we can do it individually to bring each of you, we'll certainly do so. Or if we can bring just the two of you again to do it, we will certainly do it because that's the business we're in, to create a platform for Liberians to be able to discuss in a way that we all can benefit and fall forward. On that note, folks, in cyberspace, because of time, we want to tell you this is the end of the broadcast. And as always, we have a song that unites us. And that song says, "We are all Liberians, and you know we cannot leave you without playing that song." And so, your song, "We Are All Liberians," despite all of the challenges, we are resilient, and that song will unite us. Dennis, I think we are saying bye to you, folks. Mr. Rare, I will talk with you. Rabbi, as well, we have to do this again. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and good night.
We all Liberians.